to you guys. What's happening? Who's that? Dandrew YT. Thanks for joining. Hope you can hear me okay. I'm going to give this a second to kick in. It seems that YouTube on my phone takes a few seconds before I actually hit the button for it to kick in. I'm going to wait to see who all shows up. Show you what kind of morning it is here in my neighborhood. This is back to the beaten path. Should be live by now. Hey, what's going on? Let me know if you can hear me okay. Should be wired through the headphones. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is bright and early, probably one of the earliest blog talks I've done. I wanted to get this thing out. I've got a lot of things to do later today. But I'm back. I'm glad to be doing this. It's been a while. The reason I missed the last few days this weekend was a very busy volleyball tournament weekend. It started out very early, so I wasn't able to get my walk in. What's going on? Larry, I assume that's from Hawaii. Seahawks Martin, good to hear from Martin. Says if we can stack up the defense, we possibly can. Answering that question, can we win without an elite quarterback? Lori Cross, good morning. Oh my, somebody's up early. Hello, good morning, Norb and company. Thank you, Lori. It's always good to see you on here. Chris Gerard says, of course we can win, but we won't be a contender. I think we can. I'd lower my expectations so you won't be dismantled in the next season. Next few drafts are more exciting than ever. Get Baker Mayfield, trust me, says Alexis. All right. So I want to get into this. I thank you guys for watching. If you're watching live, that's awesome. Go ahead and chat away. If not, you're watching this after the fact, feel free to comment your thoughts on the matter. But first, I feel I need to catch up a little bit because I didn't get a chance to react at all to what happened over the weekend and before the weekend because of how busy things got. And I did this volleyball tournament with my two daughters. Sophie played on Saturday, Vanessa on Sunday. Both teams did very well. We're in the middle of what's called the Power League. Power League are these sort of periodic tournaments that happen throughout the year. And essentially, your goal is to get to the highest bracket and stay there, or the highest flight. And both girls right now are in flight one, in the tops of their flights, having gone first place in their group. So they're doing well. Teams are doing well. And the volleyball doesn't stop as we're going to Spokane for the Pacific Northwest qualifier. It's a 3-day tournament. They call it a qualifier because teams have a chance to win a national bid at this tournament in Spokane. So if you can finish first or second in your group, you can earn a chance to play in nationals in Indianapolis, which would be end of June. So a lot riding. It's going to be an exciting weekend. I love this time of the year from that aspect. Okay, but I want to talk a little bit about what's happened over the last few days, and then as well to answer that question about the Baker Mayfield potential. And the biggest question is, can the Seahawks win without an elite quarterback? We'll talk about that in a second. So first I want to start with the Friday night. I was doing my Madden championship game with It's Your Boy X. It's Your Boy X. I congratulate you, first of all, on winning the tournament. But secondly, I congratulate you on being a really good sport playing me on Friday night. Believe me, I've become good enough to know when I can tell what a player is doing and how they're strategizing in a game. And let's just leave it to say that It's Your Boy X definitely played the game to make it entertaining for the audience, for you guys, and for myself, because nobody wants to watch a blowout. I know that It's Your Boy X could have easily made some strategic schematic adjustments. If he really wanted to just win, he would have played that game a lot differently. But hey, allowing me to be in a situation where I could win the game was a lot of fun. So You're a good sport, man, and you have taught me a lot throughout our Madden times, and I'm enjoying being back into the Madden game. In fact, I stuck a couple games late last night during times when I was doing my late work over the last couple of days, and I've been doing pretty well playing online head-to-head with random strangers, and a lot of it's because of what I've learned playing with and against and with the help of people like you on the Discord. So, Friday night was when I first heard on the live when Alina Dahl mentioned that John Clayton, the Hall of Fame football analyst, who's a local guy here, had passed away, and I had no idea that his situation's that grave. Anthony D with the super chat. Good morning, man. He said, "Hey Norb, glad you're home, safe and sound, bud. You get my text message about the script. 115 pages in. I'm afraid it's going to be too big to be a movie. You think about a series, man. That's big jump to go from movie to series. You're talking about a whole new beast, which I am not familiar with because I've written a feature before. I've never written a script of a series. That's a whole nother beast, man. But you may want to explore that. Make sure you know what you're biting off, and see what. Make sure it's a story you want to tell, and if it's going to really be that big. All right, going back to the professor, John Clayton. So I was shocked. It affected me more than I realized. It was kind of weird because when she saw that, I was first, I disbelieved, thought, well, maybe this is misinformation. Obviously, it came to be true. And over the weekend, there are all kinds of tributes. It's different sports commentators and analysts, a lot of local ones, talking about him and sharing memories and thoughts and stuff. But yeah, it hit me harder. I think just because this whole last couple of weeks has been spent. Just, I've been so affected by the whole Russell Wilson leaving and just riding the emotions of that. And with the fact that my dad has been doing much better, knock on wood, in his danger zone, he's been out of that for a while now and feeling like things are kind of back to normal. It's a great place to be. But I've kind of returned back to kind of just, status quo. And when I read that, it kind of hits you again where, in the end of the day, all this stuff for us as fans, it is just a game. But when somebody, and even when a Russell leaves your team, you feel like a part of you has died, but he's still playing. He's still around, just in a different uniform now. But when John Clayton news came out that he'd passed away, suddenly I realized, man, he's gone. You'll never hear his voice again on the radio. And I enjoyed his takes. So there was something comforting about listening to John Clayton talking about, in my case, the Seahawks, since he is the local guy. We share the same city in our address in Renton, Washington. And I didn't really know him personally, like many people feel like you know him because of all the years of listening to him on the radio. And I always enjoyed his takes, his calm, sort of wise, yet intelligent. There's just something easy to listen to. So I always enjoyed listening to him on the radio. So I'll definitely miss not being able to hear his voice anymore. So rest in peace, John Clayton. He was truly one of the best out there. And rest in peace, John Clayton. All right, so the other big news of the weekend was I had been asking prior to Rashaad Penny being re-signed to Seattle, what's happening with Rashaad Penny? I kept looking around for sniffs, even just like rumors about where Rashaad Penny might go. And nothing, just seemed to be nothing. And then all of a sudden, right out of the blue, find out he signed a 1-year deal worth $5.something million with escalators and incentives to make it up to 6.75, something like that. And I also tweeted, excited about that signing, and then even more the more that I read the details of that contract. And here's why it's a great thing. I think we all, for the most part, had in terms of who we want back. I did a survey as well. Quandre Diggs was by far number one. I think, and then DJ Reed and Rashaad Penny were pretty close, second and third. Well, we didn't get Reed back, but I thought, with Penny running the way he was and, feeling like, he maybe just showed a whole bunch of flash at the end of the year, and is that the real Rashaad Penny, or is the first 3 years what we saw, where it was mostly on the bench, the real Rashaad Penny? I like what I saw in the last one, and obviously a lot of us did. And this deal is I like about it, it's friendly for both, because he can make a decent amount of money. He has to stay on the field in order to do it, so he's incentivized to stay healthy and be on the field. But it's not an excessive amount. It's not a long time commitment. So really, it's just kind of a prove it after you kind of proved it contract. It's like, okay, you proved it for a quarter of a year. Now prove it for the whole year, and then see if you can break the bank after that. So this is good for Penny. It's like having another last season to prove deal. And it's good for the Seahawks, because if he does do well, and if he can maintain any bit of what he did at the end of the year last year, as we finished up should have been winning several straight games. Losing to Chicago was just crazy, but we finished strong, and a lot of it was because of Rashaad Penny's rushing. So with him and Chris Carson back in the backfield, and I'm really hoping Chris Carson can go, because we never got what we paid for, which was a Rashaad Penny, Chris Carson 1-2 punch in the backfield at the same time. But if we can get this going and both of them really can play and stay on the field, and that's the key, staying on the field, I think it's going to help answer a lot of that question that I posed in the title of this video. Can we win without an elite quarterback? So I really like that deal. Rumor has it, or at least when I had seen on Twitter and other sources, that Rashaad Penny had options to go somewhere else for more money, and he selected to stay with the Hawks. Now, if that's the case, my additional applause to you, my friend, because in a world where it seems like everyone just chases the higher price dollar sign, if he did in fact turn down a deal to stay here, that's pretty cool. Now, could have been other reasons. He might have his own personal reasons for wanting to stay in Seattle. A lot of things don't get talked about much. Is Seattle doesn't have a state income tax. And so if you're making millions of dollars, if you're in a place where they have a higher tax amount, you're going to be paying a lot more than, say, places like where we are. So, it's very appealing place to stay. So there could be other factors in there. Good morning. Hi, Doogie. So I really like that. By the way, if you hadn't noticed, I'm wearing a different hat. I grabbed my hat that I've been wearing, my beanie, my NorbCam beanie. So I dug this one up. I haven't worn this since, I think, it's been years. I don't know if I've worn it since that actual day, but you see that? You see what it says? This is the actual Super Bowl 48 halftime show hat. I don't know if you can read that, but part of it, the Super Bowl 48, one thing was cool about that is they had a lot of cool giveaways at Super Bowl 48, because they were expecting a blizzard the night of the Super Bowl. So they gave us so many cool things: feet cushion, hand warmers, gloves, this whole sort of warm you up pack. And then these hats also lit up for the halftime show. The lights had sensors that would react, in sync with what the lighting show was. It's pretty cool. Reminder of special times almost 10 years ago. More like 8 years ago. All right. So back to the running game. So I'm very excited about that. And so I'm going to do more of a listed breakdown later of all the signings we had so far. But so we've got some secondary. Trey Brown will be there. Return of Sidney Jones. Quandre Diggs, of course. And we picked up from Denver, Drew Lock, quarterback, Noah Fant, tight end, and Shelby Harris, defensive lineman, most likely will be used as a nose tackle in the 3-4 scheme that Seattle will be using this season, different from the 4-3 that we've had. We also let a lot of guys go, like Kerry Hyder, Vincent Mayoa, Carlos Dunlap, all those named guys who were kind of brought in here specifically to rush the passer. Didn't do enough last year. Now you can argue scheme, so they did drop a lot of these guys back in coverage. But it could also be that the fact that they're moving to a 3-4 changes a little bit of what they might be, personnel they might be using, going for the speedy outside linebacker stuff. And maybe this would give Jamal Adams a different position that he can kind of use to rush the passer. Instead of necessarily being a safety blitz, he can maybe fit into that linebacker scheme a little bit. We'll see. But we also got a center. I'm excited about that. And then I forget the guy who we re-signed at right tackle. I forget the dude's name. But restricted free agent. We kept our right tackle. Damian Lewis will still be here. So the big question is really left now that we've got Rashaad Penny is left tackle, left offensive tackle, Dwayne Brown still unsigned, and the quarterback. So left tackle is a big one, as we all know. One of your most important linemen next to your center. You could debate which one's more important. The guy calling the blocking schemes or the guy who has to protect the quarterback's blind side. So we don't know. We know who the center is. We don't know who the left tackle is, and obviously we still don't know who the quarterback's going to be. So outside of that, I feel like tight end's a good spot. Receiver could always get a little bit better, but we've got stars at receiver. Running backs department looks pretty good. Defensive line could obviously use more, and there's going to be a lot of these fellas in the draft that we can pluck from to beef that up. Probably need a little more linebacking help, especially in a 3-4. And it'd be nice to get another corner in here. So we're filling in the holes. We're not filled in yet completely, but we're getting there. Surprised that you had from 0 F's given. Surprised that you guys haven't traded for Jordan Love yet. Project guy with massive upside. You know what you get with Drew Lock. Hey, Sports Live in the ATL. I think he messaged earlier, but we're going to be doing a collab later on to talk about the blockbuster move by the Falcons that moved Matt Ryan to Indy, brought Marcus Mariota over to Atlanta. It's so funny, we're just joking about Matt Ryan. At one point, we thought maybe Matt Ryan could go to the Seahawks, but that didn't happen. This is going to be definitely one of the most wildest free agency periods I've seen in a long time, at least in terms of just quarterbacks, either massive quarterback signings, massive quarterback movements, and obviously I'm going to say it's one of the biggest because it involved my quarterback. But we're talking about, Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson moving teams, Baker Mayfield having to step aside now for Deshaun Watson with the most expensive contract in history. Aaron Rodgers, for a second, had the most expensive contract. That lasted all but a few weeks. I mean, so much has happened, primarily at the quarterback position, but it's been a crazy offseason, but makes it definitely more interesting. And so what it brings me to this question is, obviously, every team that's made major moves has been doing so with that feeling like unless you have an elite quarterback, you're not going to win the big one or get deep in the playoffs. Clearly, the Browns rolled the dice and put all the chips on the table for Deshaun Watson, with much controversy surrounding that. You've got, obviously, the Broncos going all in on Russell Wilson. We're going to see how that's going to work out. Got Aaron Rodgers, big bucks, but he doesn't get Devontae Adams. How is that going to work? I got another rock in my shoe. I'm going to stop for a second, get this thing out. I don't know why that happens. Every time, I'm pretty sure I cleared it before I walked, but I don't know if pebbles hop into my shoe or there's pebbles hiding in there that I just aren't getting the first time out, but wasn't there in the first half of the walk. I mean, this is a big little sucker. There's no way this thing wasn't in here before. See that thing? That ain't no fun to walk on right there. It's boulder size right there. Anyway, so about that question, oops, there's more debris in here. So everybody is obviously, these teams, and Los Angeles Rams won the Super Bowl, and they extended Matt Stafford with a pretty lucrative, not as big as Aaron Rodgers, but they went and locked him up pretty much to probably guarantee that he ain't going to go anywhere else and just finish his career with Los Angeles. But again, I asked that question is, do you have to have an elite quarterback that you're spending major money on in order to succeed? That is the question. Now, Seattle, the one thing has not changed in all this time that we started having Russell Wilson is Pete Carroll and John Schneider. And obviously they won their one and only Super Bowl and almost two with Russell Wilson at the time, still a rookie under his rookie deal. And people argued, was he elite or was he a game manager? As a lot of people say, I've always given more credit, but then again, I was always a Russell Wilson champion, so I would always argue on his behalf. I'm starting to lose a lot of my affection for him by the minute. The more and more time goes by, the more I've been reading about what really went down with this Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll, Seahawks, John Schneider separation. I'm going to read an article later, maybe today, that was very revealing. I thought I'd never really know the truth, but I think the truth is starting to come out of what really went down, because Pete Carroll was doing a lot of press conferences or interviews yesterday, talking pretty frankly about what happened. And I've got some interesting revelations that I want to read from this particular article that told a lot. Needless to say, I was not so happy with Russell Wilson the more I read about that. Okay, so can the Seahawks win without an elite quarterback? Could they, let's say, just ride with Drew Lock and potentially still be successful? If you were to ask me when the trade first went down, I would be going, hell no. And I still don't know what we got with him. I really haven't watched tape on him, so I don't have any sort of realistic grasp of how good he is. You can look at the numbers, and the numbers speak for themselves. That's pretty bad. But you have to also look at the circumstance. The circumstance with Drew Lock, he entered, and his short stint with the Broncos was during a pretty tumultuous time. Not a lot of solid coaching / coordinator consistency with him. I think he actually had a very good start in his first few games, but then things changed. So is that the fault of his, or could it be that he was just in the wrong situation? I mean, we have seen it before where a player doesn't do well in one situation and does well somewhere else, i.e. Matthew Stafford, right? He never won a playoff game in all the years in Detroit, comes into Los Angeles and wins the Super Bowl his first year out. And I'm not comparing the two for sure. But my point is that maybe there really is more truth that a player isn't necessarily just great because they're great no matter where they are, but they got to be great in the right system with the right pieces and the right coaching and coordinating around them. So I will tell you this much. So Pete Carroll has his identity and made it pretty clear that he's going to stick with it. And we know what that identity pretty much is. And I think there's often a lot of criticism thrown Pete Carroll's way to say he's old and antiquated, his schemes aren't that good. I agree that some of his, I think, formational and pre-snap schemes were sometimes pretty vanilla and archaic compared to those of Shanahan and McVay. who would do a lot of misdirection, pre-snap movement, things like that. And I think with a coordinator who's allowed to explore these things, which I'm hoping Shane Walton can still be that after only 1 year so far, and feeling like I didn't see anything that different, that if you allow the coordinator to be creative, but you don't necessarily veer far from your philosophy of throwing the ball, I think and look at Tom Brady. You know, Brady was good for so many years, but I don't think anybody was really saying it was because of his deep ball that was the reason why he won all those championships. It wasn't that he was the fastest guy who could run around and scramble. No, he couldn't do that at all. But what did he do really well? One, he read defenses really well, so he always knew where the best place to put players to succeed on a given play. But also, he was never afraid to throw the short checkdowns. And I think the big difference, and I've said this many times before, the big difference between Brady and Wilson and a lot of other quarterbacks, and maybe again, it's that height thing, that it feels like there's certain times when that middle of the field quick release throw that Brady is so good at doing, Wilson would pull the trigger. And I was wondering, why is he not throwing it? What's the hesitation? Is he not doing it because he can't see it and he doesn't trust it? Or is he hoping for a bigger play down the line? Like, I'm not going to settle for this short pass when I got potentially lock it for 30 down the sideline or across the middle if I can wait long enough. So that could be, again, where Russ is making his own decisions. And then you see the sacks happen because obviously you can't throw the ball without protection down the field. You know, so it all kind of ties up to each other. But if you are getting rid of the ball after like 2 to 3 seconds, your line doesn't have to do much. And if Drew Lock or whoever ends up being quarterback, which I just don't think it's going to be, unless you get Baker Mayfield, and I don't even know if Baker Mayfield is considered an elite quarterback. That could be debated. But let's say you roll with Drew Lock or something of his level. We've seen teams before that have gone all the way. I mean, I look back at the 2000 Ravens who won the Super Bowl. Now, they had one of the greatest defenses of all time. Clearly, we don't have that. But they had a very average quarterback, and he didn't have to do much. But I also think that in this system, I totally get Pete Carroll's philosophy. Because my playing Madden, believe it or not, has made me appreciate Pete Carroll's philosophy even more than I maybe did before I started playing Madden. I've only been playing Madden like, a year and a half? But I totally play by, I feel like Pete Carroll calling plays. And I feel like everybody else who's playing Madden plays like everybody else who wants to spend $200 million on a franchise quarterback and throw the ball 50 times a game. I won a game late last night, and I threw for less than 100 yards. My Russell Wilson threw for 99 yards, but I still won the game. It's like, I don't know, one-score game. 24-17 or something like that. But the other guy, he was just chucking it every play. He rarely ran. And I get that sense that it feels like that's what the new way is, that it's all about throwing the ball. And I don't know, for me, I find I really do see the value in running the ball, setting up the effective passing when you have a solid, dependable run game. It's got to be effective, though, of course. If you're running the ball and you're only getting 2 yards to carry, that doesn't work so well. But when I play mine, it's like if I get 4 yards, 5 yards with Chris Carson, which is pretty much what I've been doing lately, that gives me so many options. But I don't really throw the deep ball. I mean, the deepest might be a crossing route that's maybe 15 yards down the field, and then he runs it for like 20 more. That's the deep ball for me. Now, I don't think we'll ever get another thrower in here who can throw the bomb as beautifully as Russ can. with an arcing ball that's so high in trajectory, so pretty that it drops into a bucket. We'll probably not have that again, in a long time from now. But I don't think you have to have that to win. And if we can set up our philosophy where we run the ball effectively with those two running backs, and we throw, with good efficiency to keep the chains moving. And once in a while, you try to hit that streak, that medium to medium long range one, that a DK. DK, I've always felt like just get the ball in DK's hands in some space, and he might turn that 8-yard pass into a 30-yard, 40-yard touchdown because of his speed. But you don't have to throw it to him in the air 40 yards for him to do something. Just get it to him short, and he'll do the rest. That's the kind of freakish athlete he is. Ty Lockett, on the other hand, he's much better running routes, finding the open spots, and he's always going to be good for a good 15 to 20-yard ball down the field. But we don't need to do it all the time. So, I don't know. I've learned more to appreciate the way Pete Carroll calls his plays, just because I feel like I see myself in him when I play my style. But it's because I went the other way, and I was getting picked off all the time. And I realized if I didn't get intercepted, I would usually win games. If I didn't completely blow the turnover battle, I could usually win the games. And I think that's what Pete Carroll's trying to do as well. There's no surprise. I think the philosophy is intact, but you've got to have a quarterback who can obviously stand in pocket, deliver on time, make an accurate throw, and he's got to be able to make the proper reads. And that's the part that's not tangible. When you look at Malik Willis, I just keep seeing all these highlights of him throwing million-yard bombs down the field. Everyone's just enamored with that, going woo! But there's no defense, there's no rushers. It's just a guy throwing to a guy running down the field in shorts and a shirt. Anybody could do that. But it's what you do in the game when you're under pressure and you have to scramble and pockets collapsing, or you're standing in the line and they're showing blitz and you got to make the right protection and adjustment, all those things. And you got to have a line that's going to give you 5 or 6 seconds to drop back, stand in there and throw a deep ball, because if you don't have that, it doesn't even matter. So, and this is why I am really rooting hard, obviously for my own team, that if we do go, I feel like we're going to go the route of a non-expensive guy at quarterback, non-elite, either running with what we got, or they take a chance on somebody in the draft, not necessarily Malik Turner at 9, but maybe even somebody else who might just be like not a big draft pick to give up. And they might pick up a quarterback who they have their eye on, who could be that project quarterback that nobody's talking about. But I feel like no matter what, we're not going to have the big name at QB. We're not going to have an elite quarterback. So all these teams that have spent millions, millions and millions, Cleveland, Broncos, or they're about to spend millions. I really, Aaron Rodgers without Devontae Adams. I'm really hoping that, a super chat in here I got to acknowledge from Patrick. I'm really hoping that these teams, this format doesn't succeed. Because I just don't like the idea of the quarterbacks just eating everything up. Like the whole game is all about the quarterback. Because I don't think it is. And we all know the reality. We saw it happen here in Seattle, where we had a quarterback, argue whether it was franchise or not at the time, but he had winning years early in his career when he was cheap. We won more successful games when he was in his cheap years than when he was in expensive years. That part's the reality. So can it be done again? I mean, it would be the most amazing thing if Seattle could pull off repeating what they did 10 years ago. Maybe not win the Super Bowl, but just even get to the playoffs with an, again, unknown name quarterback. I would really love to see it happen. And I'd love to see the teams who are just betting the ranch and everything in their future. Cleveland, I mean, you got to be excited as hell if you're a Cleveland fan. You also got to be worried as hell Because if for whatever reason this doesn't work out in Denver, if Russell Wilson doesn't bring you at least to the playoffs, maybe not even a Super Bowl, but it even doesn't get you as far as you want, you're going to be wondering, dang, did we make a mistake here? Did we just give up everything for the wrong guy? I want that to happen. I want the fans and the general managers out there and the coaches who went all in on the quarterback to have regretted those decisions. And maybe I'm just sour graping it here, but when you don't got one, you know you got to roll with what you got and hope that those who got it don't. You know what I mean? So that's a weird year, man. I talked to so many different people, the differences in opinions on how they feel about the situation. I got friends who are like, oh man, Seahawks suck now, big time. And then other people are more excited than ever that they got rid of what was like a heavy boat anchor weighing the Seahawks down. But it'll be interesting when I read that article by one of my favorite beat reporters for the Seahawks, Greg Bell of the Tacoma News Tribune. I'm going to read that article because it just told a lot and was really indicting of what happened, what went down. And really, it's not a lot of surprises, but I think what it is you realize all the stuff that we were hearing that I refused to believe was the truth about Russell and his relationship with the Seahawks. It seems like it turns out most of that stuff that everybody speculated about was true. All stemming really from the end of 2020 or the year of 2020. So I'm excited to, I won't say it's excited. I am looking forward to sharing that with you so you guys can hear that and then we can discuss what we think about all that. What else? It's kind of a misty day out here in the Pacific Northwest. As I get back on the sidewalk, power lines above me. Not quite raining, supposed to rain a little bit later. It's about 50, low 50s, so it's not that cold, but it is starting to warm up, at least during the day. It was nice yesterday. I got into the high 60s yesterday. I started feeling like spring. I do have my song that I recorded before the weekend, and I was hoping to finish, now that I'm finished with these projects, I think I'm done. This will allow me to finish what I wanted to do, which was to make the music video of the song before I left for the weekend. That's my goal anyway. I leave Friday. It gives me 2 days to shoot and edit together what I'm hoping to do. So we'll see if I can get that done in time. I'm also supposed to get my washer or my dryer part today that I ordered. That thing was supposed to come last week. Guy didn't order it till late. It was supposed to come yesterday. But then it said it wasn't going to come until after this end of this week after I was gone. But then it's saying now it'll arrive today. So I know that my wife will be very, very happy. No more hang drying all of our stuff that we've been doing. So it'll be nice if it works. I just ordered basically I'm replacing the brain of the dryer, the entire control panel at the top. I'm transplanting it with a new one. I don't even know if it's new, it's just a different one. But theoretically, if it's the right part, I should just be able to take all the wires from the old one, plug it into the replacement one, and everything should fire up. It's going to be either great or it's going to be extremely frustrating if it doesn't power up. Find out pretty soon. Anyway, well, that's all I got. Glad to be able to do this again. And like I said, I got more videos to do before heading out of town. It's good to get back on this thing. A lot of crazy things happening in this off season, but reason for hope. So you got to, right? Otherwise, you're just gonna be a very miserable fan all year. So we will talk to you guys later. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for those who super chat. Oh, Patrick's. I read Patrick's super chat. I just forgot. Patrick says, when you throw the ball too much, Your time of possession is short, and the opponent's offense can score quickly on you. Got to win the time of possession game. That's the other thing too. But you gotta, no matter what you do, you have to be proficient at it. So if you're throwing the ball, you can throw the ball, which is like a running game if you're throwing short passes, but you got to be making yards. You got to move the chains. I think first downs is actually more important than time of possession. They're close, but it's those first downs that you really got to get. Because if you're not throwing bombs for 80 yards, you don't need first downs. But if you aren't, you got to have to run them or you got to pass them. But I like the idea of having the ball longer than the opponent. And the more you throw it, the more likely you turn it over. Look at Kansas City. They finally caught up to them in that AFC Championship game where they should have won that game. They should have won that game. The team with a better quarterback, arguably, should have won the game. And they didn't. A lot of it because they got intercepted a bunch in the second half. Same thing with, in Aaron Rodgers' case, he didn't really lose the game for the Packers. It was the special teams that blew it. But they also had a crucial interception that cost them the game, too. So, yes, turnovers are a huge thing. But turnovers, first downs, and then time of possession. Something that Seattle's got to win more of if they want to have a chance to compete against what's going to be a very tough year. All right, I'm out, guys. Talk to you in a little bit. Go Seahawks.